I really enjoyed A Mile in His Shoes. This was released in 2011. It's directed by William Deere, it's written by Jason Koornick, and it's based on the story The Legend of Mickey Tussler by Frank Nappi. And just as a note, I found this interesting. According to Wikipedia, the setting in the novel was in Ohio in 1948. This one is in Indiana in 2002. Just thought that was an interesting fact. So if you've read the novel and you haven't seen the film, there is apparently at least one difference. I otherwise can't comment on how it compares. And this film focuses on an 18-year-old called Mickey Tussler. He's played by Luke Schroder, and he has Asperger's syndrome. And a chance encounter with Dean Cain's character, Arthur, gives Mickey Tussler the chance to try out for a baseball team. Mickey Tussler is a baseball coach, and he has car trouble, so he happens upon this house with this family, the Tusslers, and he sees Mickey out in the yard throwing apples, and he realizes he has a really, really good arm. So eventually, after a tiny bit of persuasion, Mickey is, and I don't want to use the word allowed here, but I feel like that is the best word for it, because even though he's 18, Arthur is very much asking Mickey's parents for permission for Mickey to try out. And that in itself I thought was quite interesting, because he is 18, but he does have Asperger's. And throughout the film, there are times when certainly his father, Mickey's father, really undermines his ability. And I feel like that's going to have a knock-on effect. If you're told your whole life that this is what you're going to do, you're going to work on the family farm, you have Asperger's, so you can't go and leave the farm and explore the world. I feel like while there are obvious roadblocks for Mickey, I feel like reinforcing those roadblocks is going to make it even harder to break free from, I guess, his parents' clutches and actually explore the world a little bit more. But he's allowed to try out, and that's what the film is about, his efforts at pitching for baseball and the problems that arise. And I will say there are obvious problems that he faces with things like sensory overload. When he goes out onto the baseball pitch, there are obviously a lot of people, there's a lot of noise, and we can clearly see that this is something that he's initially struggling with. And I don't want to give away too much, but for example, when he throws the ball a certain way, he doesn't know exactly where it's going to go, and that element of surprise is something that also causes him a lot of agitation as well. So we can see these problems that he has to overcome from within himself, and it's a beautiful journey that he goes on. But there are also some people who have some very unhealthy attitudes and behaviours that also make it a difficult journey. And it's a really, really beautiful story. It's a great journey to go on, and it's largely about Mickey finding that self-belief, but also other people realizing that, quite frankly, he's more than his diagnosis. Yes, having Asperger's does cause some roadblocks, but it doesn't mean they can't be overcome. And it also doesn't mean that that is his only identity. And as I said, his father certainly, maybe for want of protecting him, I don't feel like his father was thinking, well, you've got Asperger's, you'll never amount to anything. My perspective is that his father had this attitude to protect him, I guess. Maybe I'm misreading that. Maybe he was just not a very pleasant person, but I think he was just protecting Mickey. But Mickey wanted to do this, and initially it wasn't quite clear if he wanted to do this. It was more of a case of he was given the opportunity and he didn't really think to say no, but obviously as it goes on, you can see he becomes quite passionate about finding this ability within himself, and it's a lovely story, beautifully told. I would actually be quite keen to read the novel one day. I'll probably forget I said that, but maybe one day I'll check it out. The characters are great. It's really motivational, really beautiful, inspirational film, and I like films about baseball in general anyway, so that definitely appealed to me. But had it been about any other sport, I probably would have enjoyed it almost as much. And that's not often the case when films are about other sports, because I care little about basically every other sport. But because it's not so much about baseball and more about Mickey's own journey, the emotions that come with the journey, and the attitudes of other people, I think the film would basically play out in the same way with any other sport. But I'm thankful it's baseball. Really enjoyed it. A Mile in His Shoes is a beautiful story, great characters and performances, very emotional. very inspirational. And if it sounds like it appeals to you, then needless to say, very happy to recommend it. If you've read the novel, please feel free to let me know what it's like. Maybe one day I'll check it out. And for now, I'm pleased to say I thoroughly enjoyed A Mile in His Shoes, and I definitely recommend it.